ਦਿਲ ਪਰਦੇਸੀ ਨੂੰ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਨਿਤ ਦਾ ਰੋਣਾ ਪੈ ਜਾਊਗਾ ਨਾਲ ਰੰਜੀਠੇ ਜੋਗੀ ਦੇ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਜੋਗਣ ਹੋਣਾ ਪੈ ਜਾਊਗਾ
ਇਸ਼ਕ ਦੇ ਅਲਿਆ ਜ਼ਖਮਾਂ ਦੇ ਖੁਦ ਹੱਸ ਕੇ ਮੂੰਹ ਸੀ ਲਾਂਗੀ ਜੇ ਯਾਰ ਮੇਰਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜ਼ਹਿਰ ਦੇ ਮੈਂ ਘਟ ਘਟ ਕਰਕੇ ਪੀ ਲਾਂਗੀ
Hey everybody, welcome to Flywheel, your number one source for everything Frax, DeFi, and everything in between. If you want to know what's going on in the world on chain, you've come to the right place. This is DeFi Dave here with capital K, and we're here to help you harness the power of the flywheel. If the chain was a savanna and you had to be any animal or watch out for any animal on the chain, who would you watch out for? The cheetah. The DeFi Cheetah, that's who. Because this dude takes the chain from his perspective as working in hedge funds. He has a law degree. And this dude is dedicated. This dude has been threading for a bit. He's very detailed, very meticulous. And I was like, damn, that's a really good thread. Because he threaded about something I've been trying to say all along, which is Frax is backed by DeFi. Fuck this rap USDC noise. And that's what initially got my attention. And I was like, let's have him on. But if you want to inevitably watch all the freshest Frax and DeFi content, please subscribe, hit that bell button. Let us know what you think in the comments. Please follow us on Twitter at Flywheel DeFi. And let's get the flywheel spinning. Do you hold ETH but don't know what to do with it? Want to earn those juicy liquid staking derivative yields but don't know where to start? Well, FrxETH is there for you. FrxETH is Frax's native LSD solution, allowing you to earn boosted yields in multiple ways on your ETH. If you want to get started, go to app.frax.finance and turn your ETH into FrxETH today. Thanks everyone for joining this episode of Flywheel DeFi. Today we have on DeFi Cheetah coming us from the wild. DeFi Cheetah has been threading for a bit. Initially, his Frax, I'm just so happy to see your thread about Frax, about why Frax isn't wrapped USDC, because I've been trying to explain this to people for so long, and we actually had a space earlier today where we were talking about it as well. That initially got my attention, and then I saw all your other threads where you articulated the whole Curve versus Uniswap debate so well, and you proselytizing on the side of Curve. And you actually, I learned a lot from your threads because it put a lot of things into words that I've been thinking about. And I learned a lot of new things from your threads. So DeFi Cheetah, thank you for being a teacher and thank you for coming on. And I'm really excited to get this conversation going.
Yeah, I'm so honored to be here. Yeah, I have been watching for the podcast to know more about Frax for a period of time. Yeah, and thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, I mean, I could tell by the way you wrote about, we'll just get right into it about the initial Frax thread about how Frax is backed by DeFi, as I like to say. And I'm just like, wow, he's definitely been listening to Flywheel. And so let's get right into that. So how did that thread come about? And what are the things you want people to take away from that thread about Frax and how Frax works?
Yeah, I think it's all about the misconception, I would say. The market actually has a great misconception about Frax compared to DAI. I have come across a tweet about, if you can feel safe to put your money in a form of stablecoin and don't need to earn yield, which type of stablecoin you would like to get. So, of course, I would expect USDC or USDT would be the one that most people choose. That's not surprising. But DAI will be more favored than Frax. And this is something that I think they may not know what actually happens underneath for these two stablecoins. So for Frax, most people just know, it's just a partial collateralization in the sense that, you need some USDC, at the same time you need some FXS to mint the Frax. And that's the understanding. And they would kind of think of Frax to be algo stablecoin similar to the UST. But this is completely different nowadays. But because of a lot of things happening, like the recent Blur airdrop, something like that, people not really deep dive into something that is really developing. So Frax is something that I would like to mention. And also compared to the Frax development, I think that is also going a little bit astray in a sense that they kind of having a lot more real world access, and also they kind of take some leverage to increase the TVL so that their original risk are boost quite a lot. So this is something that I would like to emphasize on my tweet, and that's why I posted some information to let people to know more about it.
Yeah, so let's get right into the differences between UST, Frax, and DAI. So UST, it claimed to be this algo stable. It had a lot of its, reserves off chain, managed by Jump, who was market making on behalf of them. Frax, prides itself on, everything's on chain. I like to call it the first commandment. Everything's on chain. Where we have these AMOs. They put our collateral to work. Hence, Frax being backed by DeFi, and then DAI. They, as you said, they're starting to go astray, but astray as in going towards real world assets and having real world liabilities and risk, because in search of higher yield. I would like to think of DAI as the commercial bank and Frax aiming more to be the central bank. But how would you describe it in your words?
I think I would describe Frax to be the one of the ways I think is the smartest one to expand the stablecoin supply. Because first I came across different development, the product development that turned out recently, like the FrexETH, FrexLand, and people who may not understand it will take it as a kind of separate thing. But actually, after I studied for a while, I think it's so smart that my understanding is like, it's like a roadmap that kind of to ship Frax on the hands of crypto users, and it kind of to become more and more widespread. After, for the next bull run, if FrexETH, FrexLand, the synergy of these Frax products will be quite significant, I would say. And this is something that I think DAI, MakerDAO also identify this, and they have recently launched the Spark protocol, which I think is completely inspired by Frax's idea. I think it's no doubt when you see how it goes, that it is completely just another FrexLand type of protocol for DAI. So yeah,
Yeah, let's get into that point you said about, because a lot of people, they see when they take a look at Frax for the first time and they see, FraxLand, FrxSwap, FrxETH, it seems to untrained eyes, it seems like, they're doing too much, they're juggling too much. But you understand that all of these different primitives have a purpose. All these different primitives have a point, and basically expanding the market share and utility of Frax. As like Sam says, it's all different parts of the same thing, DeFi Trinity.
Yeah. I think sometimes Sam may be too smart for people to understand this idea. And
yes, that's why we're here.
Sometimes
that's why we're here.
You know what? Smartest people are always the lonely ones. Yeah, it's not easy to be understood. So let us.
That was a very profound statement.
Yeah, kind of put it more down to earth, and people will know more about it. For my side, I think FrexSwap is something that facilitates the AMO, because Frax TVL is quite huge compared to other protocols. So in order to maintain the AMO, there will be a lot of fees going around. Mm-hmm. So instead of maintaining the kind of to make the market elsewhere, use the FrexSwap to do it will save a lot of fees. I think this is something that's smart, but FrexLand is even smarter, I think. FrxETH itself, for me, it is not useful enough. But but when you turn out the FrxETH as another product, FrxLand is a very good product that is complementary to FrxETH, because if now Frax is competing in the LSD sector, you have FrxLand. What does that mean? So, from my understanding, Frax through the Curve ecosystem lower the cost of liquidity. To me, I need to clarify this. Like, liquidity from my side is the most important concept in DeFi. When you consider what blows up FTX, the key is liquidity. You can see from the treasury, the market cap of the treasury of FTX is actually quite a lot. But the reason why it blowed up is because those crypto asset cannot be realized. Those are just a liquid asset. So if you want to make the Web3 asset meaningful, liquidity is always the key, so that you can realize it, not just paper money, not just something that you can see but you cannot realize. So this is very important. And in terms of this, I think Frax is very smart in the curve wall, of course. Yeah, the Frax space pool, those kind of stuff. So I don't repeat that, but all those lead to the result that to churn out new products that also need to launch a token, Frax requires a lot lower cost of capital than others, which means to maintain a pool of certain TVL, for example, say 100 million, Frax itself don't need to put half of it at least for the pool, or the whole amount of those 100 million for the pool, because they can leverage the Curve ecosystem to help them to do that, or to do some incentive based on the fresh BP pool, things like that, and the build appointed, things like that. Yep. So this is a thing that Frax can do and others cannot do for now, because apart from the free pool, Frax base pool is the only base pool that is also available to others to build a liquidity pool on it. And after they have a lower cost of liquidity, that's why the yield of the FrxETH could lead other competitors like Lido Finance. And the key for this is because they can kind of to issue FrxETH on chain in a lower cost of liquidity, so that they can maintain a significant amount of TVL at the same time they can provide high yield. So this is something that is extremely attractive, and also the flywheel between FrxETH and the FrxETH pool on Curve is also something that I think is quite smart, of leveraging the current advantage of Frax in the Curve ecosystem. And after that, FrxLand puts it even further, in the sense that the Frax now can, after they have on-chain liquidity, so they must have some use case, right? So FrxLand provides a use case for Frax to FrxETH owner by leveraging their exposure to the staking reward, so that they can earn more real yield, right? So this is something that I think is really smart, in the sense that the FrxLand can provide more use case and utility for Frax, and at the same time, this can boost up the business of FrxETH to compete against other LSD competitors. So this is just the beginning. There are a lot of different kind of pack asset or this type of things that can be done. So I'm looking forward to how things can go further and further. Yeah. So this is something that I think so far no other protocols could be able to do that.
Yeah, I think the most important thing you said there, that is liquidity is the most important thing. Liquidity is everything. You don't have anything else if you don't have liquidity. I like to say water is life, liquidity. And Frax and the Frax team were the first ones to realize this, and they realized Curve was the venue for liquidity. And as you said in one of your earlier threads, you said Curve is where price discovery, I believe, happens for stablecoins. Like if you want to check if a stablecoin is pegged, the first place you think of is Curve, as opposed to Uniswap, where especially Uniswap v3, where it's like constantly arbed and it's constantly, it's constantly stress, especially in extreme situations.
Yeah.
And so I want to like get into, I don't know, Kit, did you have any questions or any comments about DeFi Cheetah's words about Frax?
I just the one bit about how everything is complementary, and
Yes.
think about it this way, guys. The two stable coins that Frax has is the FrxETH and Frax. And Frax Lend literally gives both of those stable coin even more uses.
Yeah. And also FPI.
Increase
FPI.
and also FPI.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And also
Not to
FPI.
mention this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would like to highlight is that I think people, if for those who may be confused about DeFi after doing the yield farming or chasing the APL for a while, I would like to clarify what you are doing is actually revolutionary in the sense that it is first time that human beings could be able to issue and hold digital asset in a non-custodial manner. In a sense, what does it mean? It means that previously, without the crypto industry, we hold digital asset, but those digital assets are actually backed or held by the banking system on behalf of us. They are not really free assets that is decentralized and in a non-custodial way. So this is the first time that we can do that. And we can issue whatever, for example, like Frax. Oh, I would like to provide service for those who hold the ETH. I issue a token called FrxETH, and then I do the validator node to cater for them. Yeah, this is something that only can be done in DeFi, but not in TradFi. So yeah, this is something that I think is the key for DeFi. Yeah.
Yeah. And on your bio, it said you were previously working in hedge funds, you worked in TradFi. Can you go a little bit into your prior experience and how you ended up in DeFi?
Yeah, sure. So previously, I worked in a hedge fund and then to do some trading. And it is not because I don't want to be a long-term investor, but it is because to be a long-term investor, you don't have much alpha in the traditional world. Unlike in crypto space, because of the information asymmetry here is very, very, very exceptionally large. Like only very few people know the value of FXS. Yeah, that's something that I think that's why I'm here because of the alpha. But back to the previous days in hedge fund, I think it is the experience for me to discover or to feel how inefficient the traditional world is. And that's why I came to DeFi. The traditional world is quite something is quite slow. For example, like you need to do the settlement, which means you need to match the buyers and sellers within, for example, the T plus 2 days. Like, T means the trade day, and you need another 2 days to do the settlement to make sure the seller and buyers match the order and have the stock delivered to the buyers while the sellers can get the money from the buyers, things like that. So it's exceptionally inefficient in a sense that for DeFi, the initial thing I would like to say is the money circulation will be much faster. And if we are saying that we can do fundraising on chain, liquidity is the other issue that we need to tackle to make those fundraising meaningful, right? Or else it's just crowdfunding. And I know there are a lot of crowdfunding activities even without crypto industry, but they are restricted, quite restricted by the geographical location and things like that. For example, there are a lot of US crowdfunding activities, but other people in the other corners of the world may not know about it. But for example, like Frax, we are here because we are gathered by the attractiveness of Frax. It is something global, boundless, and it is something that is really revolutionary in this sense. So after the DeFi summer, just no doubt all in DeFi and all in those projects really are the with the builder mindset. And I think Frax is definitely the most significant one in this field. Yeah, the builder mindset I think is very important. Keep churning out products. They know what they're doing, and then they keep doing and keep building, even if others are leaving.
Yeah, putting the foot to the pedal and not stopping.
Yeah.
That's the Frax way. Even all throughout this bear, even when like things, doesn't matter the situation or what happened. The most important thing is like heads down, kept building. I saw a funny meme the other day. It was something along the lines of, this is what like the Frax devs not going to conferences for a year leads to. And it's like they built Frax Ferry, they built like Frax Land, this and that. It was like it was a really funny meme. But I want to get to one point about like how would you explain Frax in one sentence to somebody who is like crypto proficient, DeFi proficient, but is like looking for like a wrap up in like a how Ohm had like 3-3 or like how like Ethereum is the world computer. Like what do you think should be like the selling point?
The slogan.
The slogan of like the DeFi super app. Frax is backed by DeFi. We've been brainstorming, so I would love to hear your ideas.
This is a good idea. If I would like to say Frax in one word, I would say it would be the stable coin that is most like fiat currency with all its functions, because they have the lending service on its own, they can have the swapping activity on its own, and they can now they can now pursuing to get direct access to the fast balance sheet. So it is the most fiat-like stablecoin that you can get on chain.
It is crypto central bank. Yeah.
Yeah,
what are your
central
thoughts?
bank. Yeah.
Frax
Exactly.
Wow, Frax is fiat on chain, but not fiat. It's like it's
Yeah.
Not fiat. Fiat is centralized, but it is a decentralized fiat,
Decentralized fiat.
not being controlled by any single
Yeah.
party. Yeah, but they are the system is complete like fiat.
Yes.
Because
I know what you mean.
yeah.
It has everything.
fiat,
It has the
like,
lending,
yeah.
the DEX. It has everything you need.
It has
it was
fiat.
fiat.
Yeah. Fiat and decentralized fiat infrastructure on chain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
And before
ahead,
we
Kit.
jump into the Curve and Uniswap, because I know all of us are champing at the bits to get there, I wanted to ask DeFi Cheetah what his thoughts were on like the Ohm forks and all of that crazy mania going on. Because I feel like you're a guy of substance and you look for fundamentals. So what were your thoughts when all of that was going on?
You mean the Ohm and Ohm
Ohm
forks?
The
season.
Ohm and then all the Ohm forks that came after it.
Actually, I have some crazy ideas about Ohm. You can imagine. It's just some of my speculation that I think what could be a better one for the Confess model. So we all know Confess is a kind of like things that aggregate the CRV yield and then to make it further. But the key is that CRV needs to be redistributed to the users, right? But the key is what if we put, because the key issue for Ohm and its fork is the token that itself does not have utility. So it's just like kind of like a dumb token at the after the music is end for the music share game. It's something like that. But what if for example, the Ohm's model could combine the Confess vision. So you get a CRV in the Ohm's way. Do you imagine? Do you get what I mean? Like
That's how Redacted did it. Because
isn't that
when
Redacted?
Redacted did their launch, they're like, hey, give us your CRV and CVX, right? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. That's why I would say Redacted is also a protocol that I think which great minds think alike, and the team also share what I initially think, and but I think it's a bit pitiful because after the issue, a lot of people think, Ohm's model is just rag and just a Ponzi, things like that. I think it's not necessarily bad in the sense that if the APR can be adjusted reasonably and the token to be sold at a discount could also have some utility. I think the model could be different, and that's why I think initially the only thing I thought quite crazy was the APR, because sometimes as we have been DeFi space for long enough, we will know that some APR doesn't make sense. Yeah, those are not free money. At the end of the day, you need to find elsewhere to realize it, just as what I said. And then you will know those who earn those deal earlier, they will have more capacity to flee earlier, and then those others will left with all sorts of those tokens on their hands,
Bags.
and they can and this is the thing that I think is pretty pitiful. But we can take clues from the model, because the model itself I think is quite smart. Someone would say, oh, it's all about Ponzi, but I would say if you put Ponzi in a more general sense, USD is also a Ponzi. Yeah.
Yeah.
By what I mean is that we now have freely print USD, and then the US government keep issue bonds and treasuries without guaranteeing that those would be repaid. Whenever they need to issue new debt, it is part of them is used to pay the shorter term debt. So this is something that how the system works. But insofar as people believe it, it is here. Yeah, so I think this is something that I would say Ponzi itself is not necessarily bad, but depends on how to run it or how to operate it. For example, if the APR is a bit adjusted reasonably, and yeah, like redacted, I think is a much better way. So I think redacted it's all about the narrative. If the narrative is better, I think yeah, things could be different. But after the fork period, yeah, because of the stigma, if once
Yeah.
you bear the stigma of being another forks thing like that, yeah,
Yeah.
it is the thing that about perception more than how they really actually works.
I think when it comes to Ponzi's and Ponzus and Ponzinomics, what makes something a Ponzi and what makes something, actually meaningful is the incentives and like how sustainable it is, and if there's any utility around, the product. And we'll get right into Curve, because Curve has been, accused of high heaven of like, oh, it's Ponzinomics, this and that. But you actually put forth a really good argument in how like Curve is sustainable long term, especially how like the Bribes actually like are higher APY than the Tokenomics, and that how much the protocol is being utilized. And first, stable coins now with LSDs, and maybe future stable coins. Like it seems like the Curve's place in DeFi is pretty solidified as as I said earlier, the place of pricing determination for all pegged assets. So let's just get right into like your argument for like Curve Finance, and how did that come about, and like how did this whole Curve versus Uniswap debate came about on Twitter?
This is a very good question. I think I have the kind of like the impulse to write this thread is because a lot of people have misconception about this, and I think I need to share my idea to see if any other people echo my point, because you know what, like for the Web3 industry or the crypto industry, a lot of people with the Web2 mindset will directly use their Web2 mindset and put it in Web3 and then to assess Web3 project. And Curve and Uniswap, the comparison is such a way. You hear a lot about, at the end of the day, trading volume matters, and in terms of the multiple, like the trading volume over the TVL, Uniswap is much bigger, so the capital utilization is much better. So Uniswap is better. That's straightforward. I'm not saying the simplicity is bad, but oversimplification of things could lead to could jump to some misleading conclusion. Yeah. So for my side, I think for the DeFi, those old players, what they initially are doing is like, they have the incentive, and then they use those tokens to incentivize things, and this is how previously Uniswap worked. But afterwards they kind of go astray and go to Web3, and this is how I feel not right about it, because a lot of people using narrative saying, oh, Uni V3, the concentrated liquidity, is more kind of like the capital efficiency is better and things like that. But the key point is that it is not really what my perception is different, because I think for decentralized exchange to be robust enough, at the end of the day, your target would be to make yourself inevitable as the crypto industry develops. For example, like I will expect DeFi and other sectors at the end of the day will grow together as the banking industry, because DeFi is not a separate layer. It is a kind of like a base layer that support the growth of other ecosystem. The reason why DeFi Summer came before other NFT or GameFi whatever is because without a full-fledged financial system, other sectors could hardly thrive on it. So this is the very important thing. But UDV3 with the concentrated liquidity design is kind of like to, I would say, make new projects hard to launch the new pools there, and at the same time to make LPs more professionalized. And in that sense, it will kind of expel those who have the money and they don't know what to do with the asset. And this is what actually previously the AMM model wants to do, is to gather those idle assets from the hands of you and me, and then to make the market. But with their design, I would say to me it's not very different from the order book design. But the point is it is a more stupid one, in the sense that order book must be the most efficient one. But the key why not using order book is because of, first, the gas fee, and second, it is centralized. It's kind of like, for example, like these days, there are a lot of stacks saying that, to provide Uniswap V3, you cannot be passive. You need to be active. But you can have different strategies. And for those who are making money, either you are a smart trader that have your way to trade around, I would say they are not really providing liquidity. But they are using the liquidity provision mechanism to kind of benefit from a certain type of market. For example, there is a type of strategy where people will, for example, like if slash USDC pair, some people I have come across will say, I make some money after ETH have a great hype, and then I provide concentrated liquidity right below a certain percentage of the current price, and then to benefit from the huge trading volume in case it's slumped and have a huge selling off back to the range that they provide the liquidity. So this is kind of like the strategy they do, but this is not really liquidity provision, because they are not providing liquidity when the market requires those liquidity. So in that sense, I think so at the end of the day, what I mean is that those professional LPs are just market makers. And in the traditional world, we know that market makers sometimes may not be reliable. For example, I give you an example, like for example, like options. If they find the markets are not in their favor, they simply will not provide a price. So for if Uni free relies a lot on the market makers, they suffer a risk of having those liquidity suddenly disappear if they're in a very extreme market condition, and yeah, you not know, because if there are other places that are more attractive to those professional LPs, they can just leave. That they are not having some special attachment that they must provide liquidity on UniV3. But this is the things that I think UniV3 have this kind of counterparty risk, because they need to be really friendly with very close to those professional LPs, because they have to say, yeah. But this is not really what Curve happens. Yeah, this is something that I think very few people mention. Not to mention those all the toxicity and the pricing power that I mentioned on my thread. Yeah, so this is the thing that I think can make more people reconsider the thesis of Curve versus UniV3. Yeah, because my key thesis, or why I prefer Curve more, is because Curve allows those Curve allows its model to be more robust and to be inevitable, like electricity and water in our daily life, as they are in the crypto space when the market develops further. So yeah, this is something that I drive me to write this thread. Yeah.
I really like the word you're using, inevitable. Like, a part of your thesis is like, which protocols are inevitable, which narratives are, well, not narratives, but which, your protocols and their utility and how they're being used, what is inevitable? And, as from the beginning of the podcast, talking about Frax and positioning itself as like the fiat like infrastructure of DeFi, that's inevitable. With Curve, the way it's, determining the price of all pegged assets, that's inevitable. Uniswap V3, it's, it relies a lot on professional market makers who aren't per se loyal to the protocol, nor do they have an incentive to, whether it's because of the tokenomics of Uniswap, whether it becomes unprofitable. I'm actually Kiet knows this. I'm, a fan of Uniswap V3. I've actually provided liquidity on Uniswap V3 before, and I feel like the key to providing liquidity on it is to not be greedy and to have a wider range. And if if you're just not greedy and you know what you're doing, on 1% of exotic assets, you can actually do quite well. But it does take a little bit more active management, and that's just not feasible for projects that are just trying to build. They just want to provide liquidity, set, forget, and go on with their day. And we saw the tweet from Amin, from Rye and Reflexer saying Uniswap V3 isn't working for us. We're going to move to Curve V2, but Uni V2 is just working. It's working fine. Kiet, what are your thoughts on this Uni versus Curve debate, and what DeFi Cheetah has to say?
Man, I have many thoughts. And DeFi Cheetah, I want you to help me understand this, because obviously when this Curve and Uniswap debate comes on, people just point to Dune dashboard and be like, look, 68%, 70% of all volume goes to Uniswap. And in my mind, at first I thought, oh yeah, that's because they have the most liquidity, blah, blah, blah. But after kind of reading through your thread, I was thinking about, well, maybe it's not because they have the most liquidity. Maybe it's because they have the best toxic flow for they have the best people to eat the toxic flow.
Exactly.
Yeah. So they have, said differently, they have the most dumb LPs who be like, yes, I'll eat the toxic flow. I will lose some money.
I'm here to be exposed by you guys. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't call AMMs aren't they aren't automated market makers. They're automated market takers.
Okay, so I'm glad I understood it correctly, because that's the number one argument everybody makes whenever they bring that up. The second argument is always, well, Curve only has the TVL because of the emissions. And what you said in your thread really, really encompasses this is, well, in order to get the emission in the first place, someone had to purchase CRV.
Yeah,
and not only that, they have to lock it. Yeah, it's paid. It's all prepaid, right? If you don't pay the CRV, you pay the bribes. So either way, the emissions is being paid for multiple times over, right? Yeah. And I think that bit not a lot of people recognize. They only recognize oh my God, it emits 635,000 CRV a day. That is a crazy, ludicrous amount, and that's the only reason why TVL is sticking to Curve.
Yeah, and you know what? A lot of people actually really don't take into account the price when calculating the profit versus loss. I think this is something that is really interesting, because at the end of the day, when you say Curve is not profitable, at least you should compare it at the right figure. But a lot of people, actually most of the use comes from the bribes, and people really don't get it and just simply saying using the protocol income and to do the calculation. Yeah, which makes me write a thread is because they really don't have the whole picture of things. And I understand this is not something that easily articulated, as very convoluted argument with a lot of concept that you need to explain when you come across the whole logic line, and those sort of things that.
Could you explain actually how the curve tokenomics work and how the bribes came about and why the bribes vote incentives work with the tokenomics to make this sustainable flywheel?
Yeah, I think the Curve team really good at playing around the game theory to put it into its tokenomics. So because of its vision to make it like liquidity as a service provider, so it's kind of using liquidity as its main service. And if you need to enjoy this service, you need to buy the CRV. Either you boost the reward of your own pool. Like those projects, they may just accumulate CRV for those voting gauge right to direct the weekly CRV emission to the pools, so that their pools APR increases, attracting more people to do the liquidity provision activity. Or you bribe others to ask other VCLV holders to vote for your vote, so that as to vote for your pool, so that they can direct those CRV emission to your pool, and then to boost the APR of your pool. So either way, you can get the liquidity, and those voters get their money. So this is you can say it's kind of like win-win, because both parties get what they want through this mechanism. And in that sense, CRV becomes something that being competed among the people, because CRV is something. CRV is empowered uh, to boost liquidity of a pool by having the capacity to direct emission of CRV to the pool and affect the APR of the liquidity pools, so that LPs and can be incentivized according to how much CRV is being emitted to those pools. So this is something that I think before the VE model comes out, is just DeFi 1.0, but after CRV VE model I think it is the real 2.0, or my perception is, because
Real 2.0.
yeah, the real 2.0, because first you lower the cost of liquidity by having the bribe system, so that the reason why people may not accumulate CRV but they will bribe is because they can have to maintain a certain level of TVL with a lower cost of liquidity. That's why they bribe people. This is the thing. But it is also more efficient, because those with the CRV, apart from yield farming or doing the stuff, they can, for example, like they can use the converse to kind of get rid of those the 4-year lock period, so that they can get the liquidity of their yield farm token in the form of CRV, not at the expense of the yield. So this is something that I think is really beautiful, I would say, this kind of way of playing around things. And at the same time, you can also get those, I would say, you can get the bribes, because other projects also enjoy a lower cost of liquidity by giving you the bribes to vote for them. Yeah. So this is something that you lower the cost and also enhance the efficiency of the capital. So yeah, this is something that I think Curve is really unprecedented as the pioneer in the tokenomics side. So
Yeah.
for those who would like to study tokenomics and see how tokenomics can work that beautifully. Yeah, go for Curve and Frax. They both do it in a very beautiful way.
Yeah, I'm going to quote one of your tweets. Such a degree of composability and lower costs to gather on-chain liquidity are what make Curve the electricity and water of crypto. And I think that sentence just sums up everything that you just said now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Kit,
And
what were you going to say?
and it makes Curve inevitable as
Inevitable.
being in the stack. It truly does. But DeFi Cheetah, a couple weeks ago or about a month ago, we had Curve Cap on, and we asked them, was like, hey, do you think if a token today were to adopt the CRV tokenomics with like 300-year inflation, VE da 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 da, like would he think it would succeed? And he said probably not. He said that it's because Curve was the product of its time, and because of that, its staying power is that much stronger. But if someone were to try to do that today, it won't work. What do you think?
Previously I also met Curve Cap in person, and yeah, we did some interesting chat. Yeah, and I think his view actually has its own point. I won't be so absolute to say, oh, no project could work again with this model. But for now, I can't picture out how things could work with the V model nowadays, because the empirical experience told us that other people that trying to use the V model cannot do what Curve has achieved. So at least up to this stage, he is correct. The first mover advantage is very important, and this makes Curve so hard to compete, because like this is also the point that I made in my thread, saying that, oh, for Curve, you really don't have the competitor, as you can imagine. But for Uniswap, actually they are not more precarious than you imagine, because for example, you once you consider SushiSwap once challenged
Mm-hmm.
Uniswap V2, it is not actually, for example, I give you an example, like OpenSea being challenged by Blur nowadays,
Mm-hmm.
Uniswap being challenged by SushiSwap nowadays. Why? Because there's more to see somehow.
There's
Yeah,
more to what? More to see?
to see to the consumer. Yeah, because Curve is not facing the consumer industry. They are kind of like infrastructure. They are kind of like people. For example, like people who want liquidity, they are not really those retail users. They're the
Yeah.
projects.
Yeah.
Insofar as the project stand with the or align the interest
It's
with
like
Curve, it's
DeFi
inevitable.
Yeah, it's inevitable. It's
Yes.
DAO, DAO monetary policy
Yes.
infrastructure. It's infrastructure for DAOs to construct. It's infrastructure for DAOs to conduct monetary policy. You can do it through
Yes.
Curve because it has
Yes.
massive amounts of liquidity. And although sometimes like Uniswap may appear to have more volume, if you're a large DAO and you want to make, a large swap, of whether it's in stables or whether it's like your own token, you go to Curve to do that. Or if, in Frax's case, you go to FrxSwap to do that.
Yeah. Or so that's why I think Uniswap uh, has its hidden risk that other people's not realize, that because
Mm-hmm.
they don't have this kind of robust tokenomics to protect itself. I give you an example. I can picture out like if there is a also very ingenuous team, and after the license of UniV3, they simply copy the UniV3 model with some extra incentive way, like Blur has done to OpenSea. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
Uniswap is that robust. Yeah, because it's at the end of the day, it's all about incentive and how um the project BD can kind of build the narrative in the community. So for Curve, even the narrative works for its competitors. Its competitors hardly get the TVL that Curve now enjoy, and Curve's TVL is unlikely to shift to competitors because they hold a lot of VCLV and they have aligned interest. And some people, like Winter Soldier once said, "Oh, that means early, like those latecomers, had to get a seat in the Curve war." I would say, that's because you perceive they are mostly competing against each other, but it is naturally not the case. For example, like Frax, although Frax has the largest amount of CVX, they can cooperate with other projects. They are not necessarily antagonistic towards each other or against each other. So this is something that I think, that's the beautiful thing about Curve in terms of the competitive landscape versus
Or
Uniswap.
cooperative landscape.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the thing that I think Curve is extremely robust. At the end of the day, in a bear market, you want to find some projects that can really maintain its edge and then to move it further in the next stage. Curve is, and I think Frax also is something that you should search for and put a larger bet on it because of its robustness. Yeah, because that is something that I believe you can take a small bet on some tokens that really may have a huge alpha. This is something that like really gambling, but in terms of Curve and Frax, I think kind of like a no-brainer for me. Yeah.
Yeah, so what is the ultimate bull case? What is like, it's inevitable. The inevitable has happened. Frax and Curve take over DeFi, and more than just DeFi, but like all of markets, all traditional finance. Like, the buck stops at Frax and Curve in this like whole ecosystem. What does that look like?
You mean how I envision it in the future?
Yeah, like in the future, like all of finance.
Oh,
like, comes on,
very important. I think very important. One thing is that people nowadays associate stablecoin with only USD peg asset. But actually, for the type of peg asset, there would be a lot of new peg assets. LSD is one of them. There will be a lot of peg asset that require something like Curve, because we have this staking system in the crypto, and people also need liquidity, so they need some liquidity for those pack. That's those for example like FrxETH, because it is like kind of like stake ETH. So you need some liquidity to make more people have the incentive to stake the asset. So there would be a lot more this type of stable coins, I would say, instead of simply USD peg asset. If you consider the market to be another 10x, I can't imagine how big this market could be. And Curve is the only player that can facilitate the need. So yeah, you can just imagine how crazy it is. Not to mention the Curve stablecoin, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And also like Frax is the best stablecoin issuer on chain, right?
Yeah.
So mix those two together and you have something.
Yeah,
that's
and they
just
have
inevitable.
different. It's just like oligarchy, I would say, in a sense. Yeah, they can just both takes the whole market or most of the market. Yeah, so this is something I think you can imagine how great, how huge the upside is in, so far as you understand enough about the fundamentals of how the market is developing. And
it really is hard to imagine, but yeah, continue.
Yeah, and also for the Curve stablecoin, you can imagine Curve. So far, there are a lot of LP tokens. What if those LP tokens can be, like being added the leverage? Or initially, you will have a huge boost of the TVL. This is actually, I think, a response to the trick that is done by Uniswap. Like, it kind of partnered with MakerDAO. Not surprising because of A60Z. A60Z is the supporter of the MakerDAO. So you can imagine like once they support like MakerDAO partnered with Uniswap to support the USDC and the DAI pair by having the 50x leverage. Yeah, this is the thing that Curve may think.
Oh, that was
the Curve team make. Yeah. The Curve, the GUNI. The Curve.
Oh, that's my baby.
Oh my god, DAI can be.
I
That can be used to mean DAI, which is really crazy, I think.
Yeah,
but very few people know.
Yeah, I remember working on that, That was a lot of fun when that happened. That probably got 95% of GUni's TVL and was like a springboard to launch Arrakis. And that was actually going to lead to my next question. Like, what do you think of like all these different projects and protocols that are building on top of Uniswap v3 to improve the efficiency and make it easier for protocols to interact with it? Because if it becomes as easy to let me just give it to like my tokens to Arrakis to manage, it's just like basically decentralized, transparent market maker that works on Uniswap v3, and like just it's as easy as Uniswap v2. Like, what are your thoughts on it? Are you like bullish? Are you bearish? Like, do you think it's possible? Like, what are your thoughts?
Oh, you mean
Wait,
the regulatory pressure?
Wait, what?
Okay,
okay.
Can I just let DeFi Cheetah finish his thought on the USDC DAI thing? Because this is very, very critical.
Okay, sorry.
No problem. I remember. I remember Dave's question, and then
let's finish the
go
thought.
through a bit. Actually, I think the Curve stablecoin is a kind of response to this type of setup. The Curve team think, oh my, you kind of like you don't obey the rules. So now, okay, let me launch a stablecoin to make the best use of my TVL. Yeah, so that's why I think Curve stablecoin somehow is driven by this kind of tricky setup of the GUNI token. Yeah.
Yeah.
The 50.
Go ahead.
The 50x is really, really crazy. And before
Could you explain?
So basically the thing is like in the Unis V3, each of your LP position is an NFT, and in order to make it more interoperable, so Galato Network actually make a wrapper for this. So this is what GUNI means, and when you are considering the GUNI, USDC, and DAI pool, so MakerDAO make a proposal to, and it was passed long ago that the GUNI token in the form of DAI and USDC pool, it can be used as a collateral. What it means is that, okay, so firstly, I provide liquidity in this pool, and then I can use this GUNI LP token, which represent my position in the DAI/USDC pool. I can use this to as the collateral to borrow a lot more DAI, and then those DAI could be used to provide the liquidity in this pool, and then to provide the liquidity in this pool, I get more LP tokens, and then I get more LP tokens, the GUNI. This GUNI, and then re-collateralize to borrow more DAI, and the process go on and lead to the 50x of the position. So actually, it means DAI can be used to mint DAI. And most important thing is when you look at doing analytics, the dashboard to see how huge this position is. We all know originally, ETH is the only collateral to mint DAI. And nowadays, GUNI, this kind of collateral is larger than the portion of ETH in this treasury. Yeah, so it go astray, and this data exemplify this. Yeah, this is how it goes from a decentralized stablecoin to I don't know how to describe. Yeah, it is even crazier than UST in this sense. If this GUNI token occupy half of its collateral, that is crazy, because like USDT can be used to mint USD, but UST can be used to mint UST. It is not the case for the UST regime, but you imagine this is crazier than UST because DAI can be used to mint DAI. Yeah, and once it has some issues with other types of real asset or things like that, if there are some FUD trigger out, they can be deleveraged extremely fast, because those DAI to mint DAI, those actually just just bubble.
So it's like DAI. This is like the uncollateralized part of DAI because it's you keep on like levering up
Yeah, it's
and it's
DAI on
backed by
DAI.
DAI and DAI and DAI and DAI.
Yeah.
And now like it's so it's in that position right now where like more than half of the of the backing of DAI is this GUNI pool.
So for the GUNI part, it's actually about last time I checked, it's about 16%. I'm not sure if that's the case for now. Yeah. The GUNI token is actually occupy a huge part, a very huge part. Yeah.
Oh my god, dude! So that's okay. Let's call it half that, right? Because half of it is USDC. So it's DAI. DAI is backed by DAI for like 8% of DAI.
Oh,
which means,
I'm checking.
Okay,
Yeah.
check it.
I think for the GUNI, yeah, you can just continue, and I can update the data. Yeah.
So whatever X% of that is DAI backed. So DAI is almost uncollateralized. Is fractional, just like how Frax is, because Frax is at 92% right now. And if the GUNI thing really is 16% of DAI's backing, then half of that, right? Because half is
It's
USDC,
8%. Yeah,
8%. So it's the same thing. Oh my god, it's so funny. Oh, please let it be true.
I think it is crazier, and it so far it's not really that much. I would say. You can from the I would say from the okay. Let me put it this way. If you go to the Dune Analytics and then you can search for the Seth Ventures creation of the dashboard, you can see for the holy shit. I can find it in the last August. This GUNI actually has a very, very, very huge amount in the sense that once they have about 27%
At the high, 27%.
at the high GUNI. Yeah.
What is it now?
27% of the DAI is minted by DAI. Yeah,
And-
at the peak. And for now, it is about
16%. You said.
Oh no, it is for now. It's about 8 to 9%.
8 to 9. Okay. Okay. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
as long
9%.
as they keep their like, as long as it doesn't get too crazy, it should be fine. But if it makes up like a large portion of their backing, then it gets like But
Well,
yeah,
we had
Kiet,
DeFi
yeah.
Cheetah. If it's at 9%, but half of that is USDC, right? So you only 4.5% is really DAI backing DAI.
You can say this way, but I would say at the end of the day, you may have some trouble because you can say this way, but the USDC originally occupies more than half of it. So it is like a USD wrapper versus part of it is leveraged by its own stablecoin. So yeah, it's kind of like confusing and if the regulatory pressure comes in and the PSM model will be very susceptible to the regulators because if regulators told Circle, oh, make it out has problem, ban it, and then Circle said okay, and then find the address, ban it. Those USDC will be annihilated in that sense. So yeah, I think this is the reason why I write the thread about the AMO, because people don't understand what AMO is and they just think, oh, Frax is just another USDC wrapper. I saw someone mention this. That's drive me to what? Oh my gosh, you are just still stick to your own. You're too dogmatic in your provincial ideology to kind of like to put Frax still in its version 1 version. The version 1. And in fact, I think Curve already come across the UST crisis and learn from the lesson, and then that's why they kind of like improve it in an AMO model to make it
Mm-hmm.
not that easily freely minted, and instead those arbitrage profit is taken by the protocol itself.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and it's kind of like mix. And because previously I studied law and I have um, some understanding of the basic legal principle. So some people may say, oh, the regulators can do whatever they want, the shit, and then they can just hung you down whatever they take. In theory, that may be, but I would like to bring out the point that with the AMO, it is much more robust to be censorship or regulatory resistant in the sense that because the AMO it is not intentionally, but AMO kind of mixing the asset with other innocent assets. So,
Yeah.
as a matter of principle of protection of the private property rights, the U.S. government cannot simply say, "Oh, I ban you," and then I ban you. They may need to pass some new regulation and saying a lot of things to do that. But at the end of the day, does it worth it to ban on-chain protocol simply because of this? At the end of the day, for example, like if Circle ban Frax, and by doing so, they may affect other USDC. This actually means they are destroying one of the huge UST treasury buyers. So I'm not sure did this really make any sense? But I would say slippery slope always applies. If you can think it like you can always assume the worst case scenario, then yeah, you can simply quit crypto because crypto is not for those with this kind of pessimistic thought. If you are
Mm-hmm.
pessimistic enough, you can simply pull out all the bank savings out and then you put it in the metal box and then to put it under your bed and then yeah you will feel a lot safer. But yeah, this is not the way I think in a reasonable and logical manner. So that's why
Mm-hmm.
I think in that sense it is regulatory resistant. At the same time, can have the scalability. Yeah, it's all about striking the balance.
Wow.
Regulator
Thank you.
resistant. I like that term. Well put.
Yeah. And then Cheetah, let's go into Dave's question about all the managers being built on
Wait,
top
I
of
just want to
UniV3
I just want to clear
and
up one
pretty
more thing.
much
So,
abstracting it away.
oh,
Oh.
well, I just want before we get to my question, I want to like just make sure like we have his argument right about like DAI and UST, like because saying that it's more dangerous than UST, that is a statement. That is like definitely because we all saw what happened in UST, just tens of billions of dollars just boom went to zero. And so like I don't think the industry takes like a statement like that like lightly. So like what can you like describe, can you just like explain one more time like why like this I guess looping from like the DAI USDC pool is dangerous, and like is there ways to like mitigate that risk for MakerDAO?
Yeah, I think this is really dangerous because a great portion of the because DAI is a over collateralized decentralized stablecoin, and then when you know a portion of the collateral backing DAI is not a kind of because collateral can be divided into two types: exogenous and endogenous.
Mm-hmm.
The UST type is endogenous. FXS is also kind of like endogenous. So collateral, the ideal type of collateral will be those exogenous. That means they are
Outside.
not yeah they're not really directly associated with the development of the project. Yeah, or else you will easily enter into a death spiral. But what's crazier here is that DAI is actually backing by itself, not by the endogenous one. So it is a worst case you can imagine for a collateral backing
Oh,
system.
I see.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
because like with Frax, it was FXS. The equivalent would be of like Maker. I mean, if DAI was backed by Maker, but here DAI is partially backed by DAI, and that's where you
Yeah.
raise your concern. Okay, understood. Got it. Thank you for that explanation. That is very juicy. I'm excited to see what our listeners are, how they're going to react and respond to that. But moving on to Arrakis, because I am a fan, of course. What are your thoughts on Arrakis on improving the efficiency of Uniswap v3 and making it easier for
Oh,
projects to like just LP there. I'll preface this saying like I am an investor in Arrakis, like angel investor, and have like a biased interest in them. So I just want to get that out there. So, but we'd love to hear your answer.
yeah, sure. For you mentioned about yeah, actually, I think oh, can you repeat again? Because
Yeah, I can hear you.
yeah. You repeat again the point that you mentioned, right?
Oh, I said do you think like Arrakis can improve
Oh, yeah.
and like make it easier for projects to like just put their tokens in
Yeah,
Arrakis like they would in UniV2?
sure. That comes to another argument that I think is not a good way to do it. Uh, the reason why I think is not a good way to do it is because we all aspire some all in one shop, right? And the reason there are some reasons for that. The first is that Arrakis are not doing the free service; they charge fees. You are if you are Uni free liquidity provider, actually you are paying for something that is free on the Curve ecosystem. This is something that really, in terms of cost structure, not ideal, and it is actually quite bad because the reason why crypto industry is more efficient. We come across the central exchange, and I explained that central exchange in crypto actually enjoy a very huge advantage of the core structure. It is a kind of vertical integration of the brokerage and also the exchange business, so that a lot of middlemen, the fees paid by them, you can simply directly benefit the users or traders or those who enjoy the service. But Arrakis is kind of like you're introducing some middle layer to uh, to a thing that originally there is no need for curve. So you are kind of making your cost structure even worse. And one of the key point that I criticize or I think Uniswap V3 is not ideal is because of its cost structure. At the end of the day, it charges no fees from LP already, and now you need to you are asking LPs in order to enjoy service, you need to pay some fees for external parties. So how can you make the fees reach possible and make your business sustainable by taking a cut of the LP fees if you allow more parties to take your pie? So this is something that I think, yeah, from the user perspective, it is okay, but the point is, from business perspective, it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? In order to facilitate your business to sustain while you are not taking a cut of the LP, you are saying, oh, others can charge my clients fees in order to make it more sustainable. Holy, what the? I can't understand the logic. Yeah, someone help you to do this and they charge fees and making you even harder to make your business profitable. So how can this be a good thing? This is a good
So
thing
you
for
view them as
Arrakis.
like another middleman layer, basically.
Yeah, originally it is something that is resolved, but you kind of degrading the stuff back to the Web 2 model. So this is something that I really don't get why people think it is a good thing.
We're gonna have the
So
Iraq.
Cheetah,
Yeah,
Oh,
go
and
ahead.
one thing is more important, saying that someone say Confess and also other stuff they are also charging the fees. My response to this type of argument is that Confess or other protocols on the Curve ecosystem, they are doing some extra service that is not really central to a decentralized exchange. They are not providing a service about trading and LP position management. They are providing service that makes you more convenient by having those yield farming capital more efficiently used. It is a different kind of service that you can enjoy by paying the fees. But for Arrakis, you are paying a fees for basic service that is free for the Curve ecosystem. That is the fundamental difference, and you cannot really confuse the two. Yeah.
Got it. So if I could summarize here, you're saying from Uniswap's perspective, products like Arrakis and any of these V3 managers is actually really bad because Uniswap could be the one to be charging these fees, but yet they're not. And not only that, they are fully opening and allowing projects like Arrakis and any V3 manager to come in and take money from Uniswap's clients, which are the
Yeah.
LPers.
Yeah, you can imagine a normal exchange. You can imagine a normal exchange saying that, oh, I don't have this service, but you can find the party X or party Y to do it, and they charge your fees. That it sounds quite weird because the exchange can do it itself, right? The
Which
exchange
is
will
what
do it
Curve
itself and
does.
provide. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then Curve V2 does this, right? With it has its
Passively,
own form
yeah.
of concentrated liquidity. Yeah. So
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
auto adjusting.
Yeah, so this is something that I think is really really important, and apart from being auto adjusted, Curve also allows LPs could be compensated during the time lag of the adjustment of the price range by charging higher fees. So this is something that is really important, and you can imagine someone say, oh, Uniswap V3 has a lot more trading volume than Curve. I think it's also a misconception in the sense that first, Curve mostly about stable coin and peg asset. You can't compare the trading volume of a peg asset to a volatile asset. This is not really on the same ground. This is the first perception. And Curve V2 actually is not very actively advertised in the community. I think maybe because of the market timing or
Yeah.
whatever, but I think
What?
it's now
Yeah.
more popular. Yep. And
What?
this is the
Yeah. Go
first
ahead.
thing.
Yeah.
Yep. And the second thing is that, in terms of the trading volume, let's imagine what if the Uniswap V3 adopt same price structure or fee structure of Curve by taking 50% LP fees from the LP. What would that happen to first Uniswap V3 TVL and second Uniswap V3 trading volume? You can imagine must be devastating for Uni V3 to do that. That's why the team and the community is so hesitant to put forth the fee switch proposal. But this is happening to Curve. Curve take 50% LP fees, and then they can still retain a lot higher TVL than Uniswap. Yeah. So this
Yeah.
is the thing that can make both protocols to be compared on the same page. Yeah.
I guess my question: what would your response be like? With you mentioned like volume on Uniswap, you can't compare Uniswap and Curve, but Uniswap has more stable swap volume than Curve. What would your response to that be?
You mean the stable swap volume things
Yeah,
like
like
that?
let's say for like Frax USDC compared to like Curve, like more volume goes through Uniswap than Curve, like on Uni
Yeah.
V2.
I think the first thing we need to consider, we need to have some data about how much is the toxic flow, because in Curve
Yeah, yeah.
only 20% is the toxic flow, but
Yeah.
in Uni V3 70% is the toxic flow. So if in yeah, some people may tell us that, oh, I don't care, I just compare. I think it's fine if your perception is not really taking into account this kind of toxic flow. It's fine, but this is actually what is happening, saying that um, the opportunity cost is a cost that you need to take into account in the finance world. And if you're
Hmm.
taking, you don't think this is important, then the whole issue about future cash flow and the discount of future cash flow, all things don't work. And yeah, but this is not I perceive how things work. Yeah. So for this part, I think this is my point. Yeah. And you can consider one thing that you originally mentioned at the very beginning of the podcast, saying that, oh, it UDV3 does not work well in the case when the market goes very extreme. This is very important. Just imagine UST in the UST crisis, Uniswap V3 actually failed very early on. How can you make yourself inevitable when you cannot withstand this extreme market condition? Yeah. It is something that we need to consider. And this is very important. Just imagine you have a centralized exchange. This is for those who don't understand DeFi. Like, consider yourself to be in a centralized exchange and you actively trading. Whenever extreme market conditions come across this centralized exchange will be down every single time. Will you move your fund to other centralized exchange in case shit happens? I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. But in order to become inevitable, you have to last in the most extreme of conditions.
Yes.
That is a requirement to be inevitable. You have to be, just unstoppable, immutable. And there's so many different adjectives I can use. Kid, I'm sure you can think of some. But what I'm going to take away from this interview is like, what does it take to become inevitable? What does it take to become an inevitable protocol? And how can we get there day by day? I had one last final question. I'm not sure if you had any responses or any questions.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. So, we've been Super Bowl Frax and Curve on this episode, but as a final question, what do you think Frax and Curve can improve on? What do you think they can work on?
I think for Frax and Curve, they have the same problem. Not many people understand this sophisticated design. And this is our job to make it more transparent and more easy to be understood.
That's us.
I can tell you, for Frax, I think less than for those who have heard about Frax, less than 10% of the people actually know what it is working on. This is very important because you know what? Frax actually developed very, very fast. The very early projects, and you need a very high input for those users to keep track of what is happening on Frax. And you know what? The sad thing is not many people actually have a very robust financial knowledge to understand Frax development. So I think when more people know more about how Frax is actually working, they will know Frax will be one of the key players in the DeFi world in the future. And in that sense, they will do what we are doing automatically. So I think this is the thing that we can do in order to make things. This is the thing that I think that's.
I think
point.
You just gave us a really good KPI. The understand to heard of ratio. We want to get that up. If it's less than 10%, that's too low. We want to get that up to 50% or 100%.
Yeah. This is very, very difficult because I think Frax can do more document that can make its idea in some plain words. Because for example, like Frax Land and FrxSwap, they have very significant implication, but those implications cannot be easily understood by the community, I would say. So this is the thing that when people know what actually it is all about and align them in a whole holistic approach in a general picture of Frax, they will know, oh shit, this is really fascinating. This is groundbreaking. Holy
we got to get you to write some guest posts on Flywheel.
Yeah, we have to.
We got Wavy. He went on his FrxETH journey, which we documented on a special episode, and today we published a blog post about the economics, about how the Frax AML mechanics work, and would love to have you write a guest post about what makes Frax back. But we'll talk about it after the show. But wrapping up here, DeFi Cheetah, thank you so much for this enlightening episode. It's so nice to talk to somebody outside of our circle or people that we usually converse with. This is our first time talking in person. That is as bullish Frax, and maybe in some ways even more bullish in ways in ways that we haven't even thought of yet, Frax, than us. And so it's really nice to know that our message is getting out there. And it's, at least we're hitting somewhere, and it takes one person at a time, one step at a time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
also very honored to be here because I think you guys are really doing a great job and promoting really cool product. Yeah, Frax is really something that
Yeah.
both Frax and Curve, I think they are really the pioneer of DeFi. And I can't imagine without these two projects how raw the industry will be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
um,
absolutely.
yeah. Yeah. So, okay, I'll let you go explain the lightning round and everything.
Yeah, yeah. So at the end of these podcasts, we like to do a series of lightning round questions just to kind of get you know you better as an individual, right? So the first question is, when was the first time you touched the blockchain? Like, what was your virgin crypto experience? And sexes don't count.
I think it's about 2016. At that time, it's very raw, and then I kind of tune my Google like the Gmail setting to saying, oh, whenever there are blockchain news every day,
Hmm.
push me. That is a kind of setting. I'm not sure if you know about it. Like
Google
the
alerts.
yeah, Google and that will give you the daily email about what's happening for certain keywords, and then they will push you certain type of thing.
Hmm.
So at the end of the at that time, I already spot on the significance of blockchain because this is something interesting because initially without DeFi, I think blockchain is a very cool technology because it kind of speed up the money circulation in the sense that things that need a few days to be done, for example, like if you have a relative elsewhere outside of your country, through banking system, it may take a few days for you to get your money back to their hands. But with blockchain, it is within seconds or minutes to do it. So this is something that really revolutionized the whole money circulation in the traditional finance world. This is the original bullish case. But after the emergence of DeFi, yeah, I'm all in that. Yeah, this is the thing.
Got it. And then, what do you like to do off chain? What is your favorite touch grass activity or hobby?
Actually, I'm quite nerdy, so my favorite activity is to go around different articles and then to gain some insight from. Yeah, because the reason why I like DeFi is because it is so intellectually stimulating to chat with you guys and have some idea exchange among the people in
Same.
the community. Yeah,
I concur. I couldn't agree more. Um, I think we're all like that.
yeah,
So,
and
it's a club.
it's about the feeling of uh, having the evolution every time I
Hmm.
saw some cool design or cool things. For example, like whenever previously when I study French, oh shit, I feel like I got inspired by this this can be done this way, something can be done this way, which I haven't thought about, and I kind of like open up my eyes and learn something from cool protocol design, things like that. Yeah.
Hmm.
So that's why I the off-chain activities is about studying on-chain activities.
A man that lives on chain. This is the definition of
Oh.
it, guys.
Yeah, but he
Um,
never sleeps. Yeah.
yeah. What is some advice you would give to your younger self?
Uh, the advice from a younger self is uh, to be open-minded and um, not to be restricted by your own narrow thought and vision. Yeah, be open-minded to things and then to jump into crypto earlier and study computer science and study math. Yeah,
Be
those things.
interdisciplinary in your studies.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just waiting one day for a guest to be like, "Oh, my advice for my 5-year-old younger is to meet Vitalik in 2017."
Meet him in 2014.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly,
better,
exactly.
earlier. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, and then the last question here is, what would you be doing with your professional career if you are not in finance or law or crypto?
I think I will probably to be I would say I would probably to be in a research field in science, maybe. Yeah, because I like intellectual stimulation, and I think maybe something about math and physics, something like that. Yeah, if not care about those monetary stuff or things like that. Yeah, because in my primary school, I don't know the word scientist because English is not my mother tongue. But I will go to look up the dictionary and search. Oh, what how scientists spell, and then I answered the question raised by my primary school teacher saying, "What you want to be when you grow up?" And I say scientist.
Wow.
Yeah. That's
That's
I
good
think
origins.
that's
That's
out
true.
of the good that out of the because children are very pure and yeah,
Uh,
my
A true
original
scholar.
thirst of knowledge drive me to this path and
Yeah.
but later I get tainted by crypto and I jump into crypto.
Your answers remind me of Sharon, who we had on
Yeah,
last
I was
week.
gonna say, same
how,
vibe.
how you said like to be open minded. That's just like, and to be flexible. That's another way to say like have a mental model of the world and be
Yeah.
able to adapt that mental model.
Yeah.
He was a man that like worked in biology, bio
Yeah, computer genetics. Yeah.
computer genetic, biocomputation, computer genetics. So I feel like you guys would get along.
Yeah.
But
Like actually
yeah.
I think to be flexible I would say be water, my friend.
Nice. I think you're like a DeFi Confucius, you're not DeFi Cheetah.
Liquidity. Liquidity. Be flexible, but be sticky.
Yeah. Have the liquidity. I'll be sticky. Cool.
DeFi Cheetah, thank you so much for coming on. This episode was very dense, very informative, and one that people will have to listen to twice to get all the alpha. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being.
Okay.
Thank you for being invited to be here, and I'm very honored to join the podcast as well.
And actually, I'm gonna do this for the audience and listener who's stuck all the way to the very end. DeFi Cheetah, what is one other project that you're looking at? You only say the name. You cannot say why. Let the people do their own homework.
Good question. I would say previously I look at GMX, but for now I look at a project called TimeSwap.
TimeSwap. Okay.
TimeSwap. Okay, got
All
it.
right. Thank you. All right.
Thank
See
you.
you next
Thank
week. All right.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for watching this edition of Flywheel with DeFi Cheetah, the king of the savannah, Mr. Inevitable, coming right at you live. Kiet, any final thoughts? Actually, no, we'll just say that for the post game. So go down below to flywheeloutput.com, subscribe, make sure you follow us on Twitter at Flywheel DeFi. Join the conversation at Flywheel DeFi on Telegram. You can follow me on Twitter at DeFi Dave 22.
Follow me at 0xcapital_K.
And we'll see you next week. Peace. Everything said on this episode is not financial or tax advice. This channel is strictly for educational purposes and is not an investment advice or solicitation to buy or sell any assets or to make any financial decisions. This video is not tax advice whatsoever. Please talk to your accountant and do your own research.